6 hours yung 3 hours today to attend the wake, and then she will have 3 hours to attend the burial of her baby on Friday.
Yeah.
Kasi kulang daw ang tao nung BJMP.
But as
yung warden ang nagsabi na kulang siya.
Pero one ironic thing that was very well pointed out by the reporters of TV5 and One News was, despite that statement na kulang ng tao, punong-puno, ang daming tao, ang daming pulis na nakadetalye para sa kanya at the wake, watching her every move. So on the one hand, one of the reasons for reducing the furlough was supposedly kulang ng tao. On the other hand, today they noted, our reporter noted, parang ang dami namang nakabantay sa kanya.
Saka full PPE siya.
Oo nga.
Siya lang yung naka-full PPE. Talagang COVID pa rin ang problema natin.
Actually, ang madami, media.
Mas marami yung
dinumog ng media. Oo. So,
nauna naman ng picture sa video kahit paano. Saka yung gulo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Si Amios getting ready for the segue kanina So,
oo nga Hindi, sabi ko nga naka-PPE Siyempre, pati yun Siyempre, iniingatan din na wag ma-infection kahit lahat ng tao talaga Lalo sa mga jails kalap na kalap, di ba? So everywhere we go, talagang problema pa rin yung COVID.
Yes. Kaya, dapat nang ipakilala ang ating
Now that you've done the segue, let me push it forward. Sige. Of course, our guests for tonight are from the OCTA research team, si Professor Ranjit Rye and si Dr. Guido David. Doctor and professors, thank you for joining us again.
Yes.
And we hope the internet holds up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Guido,
I hope my internet will last, no?
Yes, sir. We hope so too. Sir, anyway, kasi si Harry Roque was asking for OCTA to keep the quarantine recommendations private. Now, yesterday, I think OCTA research team announced that they will no longer be publicizing or making public quarantine status recommendations. I suppose this means that you find merit in at least some of the recommendations of Harry Roque. Now, with that in mind, how much would your team be disclosing, and what would your team be holding back?
Well, first of all, let me put some clarification. Spock's Harry talked about he appealed to us not to disclose to the public our recommendations for quarantine, for stricter quarantine status, for upgrades in quarantine status. I did not hear or even watch his own press briefing on this. I was told it was made in a press briefing by another media person from another station. And, I was doing something else and doing my work at the university. And, a lot of media people want to get comments from me. And so, I couldn't understand, first of all, why he would ask us to desist recommendations until I got a call from him. And in fairness, it was a good call. He did argue and discuss his own position on the issue. And I listened to him, and I told him quite frankly that I'm not just one person in this group. There are 15 of us in the group, and I need to confer with all of them on this. But we understand the position of the spokesperson on this issue, and the idea of managing communications during this crisis is really a challenge. And but then again, we after much discussion until 1 o'clock in the morning in our Viber group, messenger group naman pala, we all agreed, well, a majority of us agreed that we will continue what we have started. And one thing we emphasized is that, number one, our clientele is the Filipino people. We are accountable to them, and our job here when we started this was really to contribute to the collective fight against COVID-19. And as researchers from the University of the Philippines and later on our colleagues from UST, we all agreed that part of or what we can contribute in this common challenge against COVID-19 is we need to provide data. And instead of making any changes, we reaffirmed as a group our commitment to provide accurate, up-to-date data on the state of COVID-19 in the country. And we assure the public that we will provide all these findings and recommendations, if they're necessary, and make sure that they're accessible to both the public and to government.
Professor Rai, just to clarify, so when you say that you will continue what you started, it means literally status quo. Kung ano yung nakasanayan namin, you will announce and you will distribute it to the public. You will post it even before any recommendations from IATF.
The recommendations are not often, Robbie. We try to come up with a monitor every 12 to 15 days. Okay, it's twice a month now because our cycle now has to be is 1 month. We make decisions and changes after a month, but we've decided to provide this twice a month, and recommendations, if needed, will be included, including possibly, if we feel strongly about it as a group, quarantine recommendations also. So we will continue, and we understand the position of the spokesperson, and he gave some very good suggestions to improve our own the way we are going to present our reports, our monitors, and we will we are willing to adjust to those suggestions. But really, the idea of the team deciding on based on a specified scientific criteria. Okay, it's recommendations for quarantine. We will keep it public as we have.
Okay, so Professor, just to be direct about it, what will change and what will stay the same? Because on the one hand, you said you will continue what you started. On the other hand, you said you will accommodate some of their suggestions. What specifically was the suggestions, and what will change in how you disseminate your information, if any?
Well, the changes will have to do with the methods we're using. We're now using attack rates, and this, by the way, this was a suggestion of the IATF. We will coordinate more closely with all the other epistemic communities, including DOH. Meaning, before we come out, we will also show them our own what we're seeing. And by the way, we've been doing that very, quite informally, and then yes, we will continue. Well, practically nothing will change, Robbie, but we will be doing more consulting, more collaboration, more engagement with government agencies. Really, also to fine tune how we're looking at it. See, government is looking at it, and the best eyes are with government in a sense. They get the best data. They have a big team. We understand that. We're a small team, but we're not doing so bad as far as how we're looking at this pandemic, no? And ours is data that people can verify, validate. It's based on a scientific framework, evidence based. But we believe, our conviction in OCTA is this: number one, our accountability is really with the Filipino people, and that our goal, while we want to work with government in the fight against COVID-19. We feel that there's a education aspect to what we're doing, and the conviction that if citizens are informed, they're empowered. Okay, and empowered in the sense that they'll be able to manage, and assess their risk and manage better as individuals and as citizens. Okay, handling this pandemic called COVID-19. So the better informed the citizens are, the more likely they'll be able to assess not just risk, but also behave accordingly and contribute to the fight, positively to the fight against COVID-19. So that's our conviction here. So the reality is, if we inform them, this is good for the public also, aside from government also.
Yes, sir. So we ask these questions because Professor David, Dr. David was quoted as saying that OCTA will no longer be making public quarantine status recommendations. Just to be clear po, you're saying po that is not exactly what he said.
No, I think it was a misquote. Professor David was trying to say that yes, we will accommodate all suggestions by different stakeholders as to, let's say, how we present our data, how what more they want us to analyze. We're not the only ones looking at this. There are other research groups also looking at it, and they also want to know our methodology, how we came up with our own criteria for deciding what particular area should be quarantined. And in this last report, we actually suggested the criteria, and then DOH came out with their own criteria, and it was also an extensive criteria, and by and large we're in sync. I also want to emphasize that the position of Spokeshari, well-meaning as it is not the position of government. It's his position as a spokesperson, and it was a personal appeal to us to do a particular, act, no, which is to provide privately the quarantine status. But as a group, we've decided, majority of us decided, we should continue providing this recommendation accessible to the public.
Ano ba naging trigger nun?
Andiyan na si Professor.
Why did he suddenly... No, I just want to know, why did he suddenly issue that appeal from out of nowhere? Did you submit? Had you just submitted a recommendation on quarantine?
It's a mystery for us also. I mean, I think it comes from the belief of the spokesperson, who, the perspective we appreciate and respect, no? Is that the president is apparently influenced by everything that comes out, no, in the media, and that he wants the president to have an objective and clear view of the situation, and not be affected by these reports that we make, which we submit in advance, no? Because we're not just doing this for government, we're doing this for the public. And we understand that, but we've been doing this since April. The only difference is now that we're a little more, we have a more traction now, and a lot of news groups are using our reports. So that's the only difference. But we've always done this. In fact, we've been very unpopular as far as government is concerned. Not all of our recommendations are actually accepted by government, and that's fine with us. No, the idea there is we're contributing, our data is there, and we believe that data alone will not be enough. Recommendations have to be made, because as citizens, that's how it should be. Our convictions and beliefs should come out, and we're also of the belief that science is not neutral. No. Especially in a pandemic like this, which is affecting lives and livelihoods, we have to take a side. And this is where we are as a team, and we would like to continue what we have started. And I guess that's the thing we want to let you guys know.
Professor, I think you should be proud. I think it's a reflection of your credibility. Kaya lang, anyway, we'd like to welcome Professor Guido David, the mathematician in the team. Welcome to the Chiefs, Professor. And siguro tanungin na namin, since you said na hindi naman yung titigilan ng pagbibigay ng information sa amin. Professor, where do we stand now, and where will we stand by way of transmission? Kasi I think you've been reporting pretty positive news, no? Where are we now, and where will we be at the end of the month? Professor David, welcome to the Chiefs.
Yes, good evening, Ami. Sorry, I think na-censor na ako nag-globe nagiging copy ang ating internet, so I was worried for a while there. yung globe yung sa akin. But yes, we're definitely seeing positive numbers. That's why we're a bit surprised. I mean, I would think our outlook was a lot more negative months ago, and definitely the numbers in NCR are improving, and even up to today, we're getting less than 1,000 cases now sa NCR, from as high as about almost 3,000. So that's a significant improvement. We're definitely on our way to recovery. But then there are some smaller hotspots, and that is what we're reporting, because we understand that the government favors a more granular approach now. We can't afford to lock down whole provinces, and we're not even asking to lock down specific areas. But I mean, we this is something that the government should look at. The final decision is theirs, pero definitely we want to bring attention to certain cities that are having high transmission rates, high risk levels. And I mean, because this should be available to the public, not just to the government, but people should know about this, especially since lockdowns are now intended to be localized, granular. In fact,
Okay.
barangay level, but we don't have that kind of data. So at least level.
Professor, speaking of granularity, and I suspect this is where this is all will all lead anyway. One new term that has come in do sa mga reports nyo is this attack rate. So, what exactly does attack rate mean? How is that different from the other things you've educated the public on, R naught and positivity rate and so on? What's attack rate? And I suspect that leads to the discussion on which specific cities and municipalities and provinces is of concern now.
Yes, yung attack rate, we started using it because we Department of Health have started using attack rate and doubling time. So yung attack rate is basically just new cases pero divided by population. So the difference is normalized siya with respect to population. What that means is, of course, Quezon City is getting 150 cases a day at least. Pero that's to be expected kasi Quezon City is a large city. Pero once you normalize it to population, yung attack rate ng Quezon City is about, I think right now, 11th out of 17. So it's not the highest attack rate in the region sa NCR. It's because relative to population, or per 100,000 people, only 6 people are getting infected daily sa NCR. So that's why we started using attack rate, because it represents the risk level, because the more people per population are infected, mas malaki yung chances mo of getting infected.
Right.
Because if you ride a bus, it's the same number of people in a bus, 100 people, but now more percentage of your population of those people in the bus may have COVID kung mas mataas yung attack rate natin. So
Right.
right. So and going to your second question, we actually saw some cities na hindi namin expect. Number one, of course, is Iloilo City. Number two is Bawan, Batangas. Number 3 is Baguio City. Number 4 is Calbayog, Western Samar. Number 5 is Angono, Rizal. Number 6 is General Trias, Cavite. And number 7 is Bacolod. So it's not necessarily what we expected to see. And this was a different perspective of looking at things. Before, kasi in a provincial-based analysis, nakikita lang natin, okay, NCR, Calabarzon. Pero where exactly in Calabarzon yung mataas yung, for example, incidents with respect to population. So that's why we started looking at a more granular approach. And this was also, in fact, supported by some of the, as far as I'm concerned, some of the members of IATF. They actually commended us for doing the granular approach. I don't have the first-hand information. Professor Ranjit would know that, but my understanding is they actually favored also this kind of approach, na granular.
On the other extreme, of course, are Caloocan, Malabon, Navotas, who seem to be doing very well by your measures. No? What are they doing exactly that's making them successful in licking COVID to a great extent, considering where they came from?
That's a hard that's a hard question to answer, because even we are also surprised, by let's say, for example, Quezon City. Quezon City was considered the 6th city of NCR. It still has the highest number of cases, incidents per day. But Quezon City has a huge population compared to other cities in NCR. And when we studied it, we found out that the city, through the efforts of the local government and communities, and I think that's partly a way of answering your question. It's a combination of test, trace, and treat as a strategy. Second, it's also the cooperation of communities and the local government. Okay, and of course the vigilance of our citizens. I guess that those three things could explain. I don't know. Are you guys hearing me? Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, yes.
Good, sir.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. You
Clear.
guys all stopped for a moment. We thought you were. I thought my internet was dead. Anyway, no, it's a confluence of all those factors, and I guess in NCR we have to understand the behavior of people has changed, no? Because a lot of people are required to wear face shields and face masks, not just in their communities but also at work. So the behavior will change over time, and I think it's that behavioral change that has been the big difference as far as sustaining the downward trend. I'd like to add to what Professor Guido is saying. We cannot sustain the downward trend in NCR if we do not deal with viral transmissions outside of NCR. And the big places are still Calabarzon, Bulacan, Rizal, similar to what we talked about last time. Of
Yes.
course, there's an
Yes.
uptick in Negros Occidental and Iloilo province, no? But by and large, it's this clear and present danger, no, around the NCR that needs to be dealt with. We won't be able to sustain it unless we hammer down cases there. A third thing that we wanted to express in this report was the fact that number one, we are going to open up. That is a decision we did not make. It's a decision that government has made, and we support that decision. So the question of expanding economic activity is not something that we're against. But the reality is, when you open up sectors of the economy, viral transmissions will go up. It's not a question of if, okay, but a question of how much, of when and how much. So given that, we want to argue, number one, we have to scale up hospital capacity now that we're in a good place in NCR. Because what we have now is still not yet enough. Second, we wanted to suggest a trigger. In many countries around the world, they're closing down. And the governments are now recasting their view about moving quickly to open up economies because the virus kicks back, and hits back. So for us in Okta, we wanted to suggest a trigger. What would trigger a not a lockdown, but a more stricter quarantine, a circuit breaker, no, for local governments? Because now our focus now is not in more provincial. We're focusing on local governments, cities in particular. So what could be a suggested circuit breaker should transmissions go up? So we suggested as a team a criteria, but obviously that wasn't the focus of both government and media in terms of the attention that was given to our report. We were suggesting a three point suggestion, that if we reach these triggers, then that should be a decision point. That should be a circuit breaker for government to pull down and say, okay, transmissions in this place is uncontrolled, and we need to manage things. So we suggested this criteria, and we're hoping sana that government considers this. And so we've talked to some members, and they say it's a good set of criteria. It's used by South Korea. It's also used by Germany, and it's now being used as a basis for closing down or making stricter quarantine measures in many European countries. So that's all. I think that should have been the highlight of our report, but
What are the three
media focus on
criteria?
some
Yeah,
other
what are
things.
those
Very
triggers?
quickly, what are
Okay,
the three
let's
triggers?
let's read that. No? Okay. So okay. Yeah. So number one is, okay, the national government can decide to lock down or to impose a stricter quarantine. If number one, if there's an increase in new cases for 2 consecutive weeks. In Germany, it's just 1 week. Okay. But in the Philippines, we decided maybe given the cycle that we have here, 2 weeks is good. And number two, if the daily attack rate is greater than 7% per 1,000 population, that's equivalent to 50 cases per week per 100,000 population. Number three criteria, if the LGU has limited hospital capacity or if hospital occupancy is already in excess of 70%. Just three simple things that local governments can use
Yeah,
to decide
in
whether
any
to
of the three or all three at the same time.
all three at the same time. I think, Robbie, it's important.
Okay.
If only two, I think most of the cities in that list we have should lock down or should put a circuit
Okay.
breaker. But some cities kasi have hospital capacity, Robert, and so we give it to them, and the decision is really at the provincial and local government level. So this is just what we wanted to suggest. If local governments want to decide, if they want to decide on stricter quarantines, there should be a basis for doing so. And it should be really the increasing number of cases, okay, and the idea of hospital capacity if they have any. Okay,
All
so
right.
this, I think, in our view, if we adopt this, will prevent outbreaks from happening. And will outbreaks happen? Yes, they will, because we're opening up the economy. Again, it's not a
Okay.
question of if, but when and by how much. And so we have to be ready for that.
All right. Maraming
Okay.
salamat po sa inyo,
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Professor
you.
Ranjit Rye and Professor Guido David. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Good
Maraming
evening.
salamat.
Good night.
We will just go into a break, so please stay with us.
Welcome back, the Chiefs. Joining us is one Pacman Party List Congressman Mikey Romero. Romero is also the president of the Party List Coalition Foundation Incorporated, which has more than 50 party lists under its wing. And now, as of today, back as House Deputy Speaker. Congressman Romero, welcome to the Chiefs.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. Good evening to everyone. Pasensya na kayo, I'm inside the plenary and
Okay.
I'm the one in charge upstairs now. Back to my
Thank
workshop.
you for accommodating us.
Maraming salamat po for accommodating us. And but speaking of that, we know it's still a busy evening. Let's start with that. Ano pong update sa budget?
Currently, DPWH is here, followed by DOTR, and then COMELEC, and then lastly, siguro mga alas 3 ng umaga, yung budget ng DENR. So, hinahabol namin ang marathon, yes ma'am. Hinahabol namin yung schedule ni Presidente na matapos kami by Friday.
Friday.
How does it look? Does it look positive? Does it look like you're going to be on time and you're going to be able to deliver the goods?
I think we will be on time po, ma'am. But in any which way, even kasi both houses should be on recess this Friday, the 16th. But according to our rules, we can extend for a few more days if necessary. If
Okay.
necessary.
So
And, Congressman, since yesterday we've been talking about a one majority. Yan ang panawagan ng Pangulo. But we also know how bitter the battle was just to get to yesterday and to settle everything as of yesterday. How was the attendance? How is the participation? And kamusta naman po ang mga discussions, particularly with the two factions?
Ito pong October 12, we deemed the seat of the speaker vacant. And then we elected a new speaker by si Speaker Lord Alan Velasco po, no? With 186 votes in celebrity sports. And then we ratified with the same number of votes the next day dito po sa House of Representatives. Actually, may malaking drama pa nangyari kasi hindi kami pinapasok and nakapadlock yung pinto, nakapatay ilaw, so may malaking drama pang nangyari noon, no? But in the afternoon of October 13, yesterday, 3 o'clock, precisely 3 o'clock, we started budget deliberations again. We reopened the budget deliberations that was abruptly closed, no? When 18 departments pa hindi namin naisasalang, no, sa deliberations. So their budget was not scrutinized, and these are the big ticket departments. And siguro, I don't want to second guess what Representative Cayetano was doing, but I think he finished it at second reading and parang nabaliwala yung 18 departments. No? But right now, it's now reopened. Sorry about that.
Congressman, you're back. Congratulations pala, you got your old position back.
Thank you.
May sinasabi si Senator Lacson na yung mga pondo for national agencies, particularly infra projects, natabunan yata ng mga local daw na mga projects ng mga congressmen, certain congressmen anyway. Saka sinasabi naman ni Senator Drilon na meron daw lump sum sa budget. Tama ba yun?
Ito po, ini-scrutinize po ng ating mga congressman as of now, as we speak, ang budget po ng DPWH. No? Kung meron po mga lump sum dyan at saka may mga insertions. Ito, actually, nakasalang po ngayon ang part of the Makabayan Block. I think it's Teachers Party List and Gabriela ang nagsuscrutinize ng budget. No? Maganda ho to because it fiscalizes things. No? Ibig sabihin, may check and balance po dito ngayon nangyayari.
Siguro ang tanong po ay kung marami po ba kayong namamataan na kailangang amyendahan mula dun sa budget na iniwan sa inyo ng faction ni na ex-speaker Cayetano. Are we expecting more amendments?
Ma'am Lucy, the budget right now being deliberated for the first time on plenary is DPWH. So hindi pa to natatouch ng group nila ng group ni Representative Cayetano.
So yung kanilang nagawa na, sa tingin niyo po ba tatanggapin niyo na yon as is or rerepasuhin niyo pa ulit at aamyendahan?
I think many of the congressmen who are here or who are in Zoom also scrutinized those budgets already. No?
Okay.
So we will go forward with that.
Okay. That's good to hear. So there's, can you say, going back to Robbie's question, that there's now more unity and you expect
during the sabi nga it's a vicious fight, no? During the vicious fight, 186 of 301 congressmen joined the faction of Speaker Velasco. So naturally, yung naiwan should be part of Alan Peter, former Speaker Cayetano's group. No?
Yes.
But as of 10 as of today, I think about 250 already signed. No? And dati po kasi kami lang the party list which comprises 54. Ito pong NPC, 40 po yata sila. PDP, they're 57. And iba-iba mga partidos na and independents na sama-sama to comprise the 186. Now, Lakas already joined. There are 17 congressmen. The LP, Liberal Party, also joined the supermajority. And I think also the Nationalista Party as well.
NUP.
National Unity Party. Already, so naging supermajority na to about 250.
Okay.
Hindi ko lang alam yung exact numbers, no? Usually, the minority dito sa House is numbering from 30 to 40 congressmen. So, most probably, at the end of this exercise, 260 of us will still be part of the supermajority, and 30 to 40 will be part of the minority. It
So
will
you're
be the same.
saying, so you're saying walang long-term damage to the supermajority. Tuloy pa rin yung coalition ni Presidente.
Yes, ano na to? We have unified. The House is unified at this point in time as we speak. No? Today, I think may mga konting samaan pa ng loob, and but it is now a unified House.
Congressman, kahapon kausap namin si Congressman Teves, and sinabi niya, along with your return as deputy speaker, he did say, of course, it's just logical to expect that there will be changes in committee chairmanships as well. What do you see there? When does that take place? Does it take place now or after the budget hearings? And yun, wala bang risk doon sa coalition?
Except for my position and Doy, and Helen, who was removed from Helen Tan, who was also removed from their positions. I think the whole week we will concentrate on budget deliberations, no. And then it's up to the speaker to reorganize the House. Kasi syempre, yung chairmanships and deputy speakers is a vote of confidence from the speaker, di ba? Kumbaga, if you own a company, your vice presidents should also may kumpiyansa kang patakbuhin ng negosyo mo.
So in short, yung appeal ni Cayetano kanina sa kanyang Facebook Live na sana raw ay that the speaker now will honor his palabra de honor, na there will be no movements. Do you think that's not going to be the case then?
Yung no movements, I don't think that was prinamis ni Speaker Lord Velasco with regards to that. So I don't think na sinabi niya yun.
Oh, okay.
But again, it's what we call the speaker's choice who wants to be put in those positions.
People are saying that the Cayetano camp's ouster of you was instrumental also in bringing him down. That in effect, after they ousted you, you brought with you your 54-man foundation, yung party list coalition. Do you agree with that?
Prior to that, kasi there's a lot of problems already in the House in terms of yung equitable budget distribution on or project allocations, as well as yung the House kasi parang ang nagpapatakbo na lang 25 congressmen. I have been telling them, this is the House of the people. It should be a House of 300 congressmen. It is not an exclusive club. It is an inclusive club, no? So, maraming ganyang sentiments. Siguro nung tinanggal ako, naglabasan lahat ng sentiments na yan. And a lot of, hindi lang party list, a lot of them rallied for me, no? And for Speaker Lord that the sentiments na papakita na nila, and then because may rallying point na, andyan na ako, andyan na si Speaker Lord. So unti-unti nakukuha. Although, syempre, the big chunk is always the coalition that I headed. No, 54, although at that time, hindi ko pa nasosolid yan because, of course, may mga kaibigan din si Representative Cayetano dyan. So, but sumama na rin sila bandang huli sa akin.
Congressman Ria Fernandez of News 5 and of One News was reporting, among other things, with the changes today. She's reporting that you at least would acknowledge that you were happy with the intervention of Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. Could you speak a bit as to exactly the role of Mayor Duterte in everything that transpired?
Si Mayor Sara naman wasn't that vocal. She was vocal. We all know she was vocal for Lord, and on the other hand, she was not vocal for Alan Peter since last year, no. So she just reiterated her stand to us, to most of the congressmen, during this 2-week. I call it a 2-week battle because it started from the time natatanggal ako. I think that was October 3 till October 12.
Sabi nga nila, yung pagtanggal daw sa'yo, wrong move daw yun on the part of the Cayetano faction. Your reaction, please?
I cannot, ang hirap mag-react doon, no? But siguro, people really, or congressmen, are a lot rallied by my side also. And also, nag-solidify kami after ako matanggal. Nag-solidify din yung group ni Speaker Lord because I'm already on their side. Talagang buo na. And I think, if I may say, I was also the court general also on Speaker Lord's side.
But let me put it this way. Go ahead, Yami.
I know you elected Lord Alan Velasco, no? And kaya lang napansin din siyempre ng mga tao na everything started moving after his meeting with Sara Duterte. And now people are saying talaga lahat ng nangyayari sa House ay influensyan either by the President or by his, well, at least his daughter. So, may mga perception ngayon na the House is still, it's been a long perception actually. Na rubber stamp daw kayo ng Malacañang. What do you say to those observations, considering all the things that are happening?
Ma'am, when you're in a fight, you use all your positive or your arsenals for you, no? So, in this fight that we had, no, we used lahat ng pwedeng magamit na magamit, no? If Mayor Sara is with us, if the President is, we used it to our full advantage. But in terms of working on the floor, no, dito naman, except for the budget, which we scrutinized heavily, no, but the bills kasi should also have the direction of the President. Kasi these are the priority. Yan, kumbaga may long-term project ang gobyerno ni President Duterte. Susundan lang namin yon with the bills and laws na kailangan lang. Example na lang, kung kailangan nilang taxation, gagawin namin dito sa Congress is the Sitira Law para magkaroon ng mas maraming revenue. So, it's we take the cue from the President. But in terms of rubber stamping, healthy naman dito because we have the minority and we have a lot of opposers also. You can't railroad it din dito na ganong kadali. So, it's everything is scrutinized to every detail.
But Congressman, dagdagan ko lang yan. Beyond the bitter battle for the speakership, what the public is asking now is, at the end of the day, this was a deal brokered by President Duterte. In effect, whether that's 1521 or 1620 or 2115, it was basically two hand-picked speakers by President Duterte. How, beyond the fact na nasunod na yung usapan beyond the gentleman's agreement na pinaglalaban nyo. Anong pagkakaiba ni Speaker Velasco kay former Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano?
I think this guy, itong si Speaker Lord, he is very approachable. He does not believe in exclusive clubs. No, yung exclusivity has been a big problem dito sa Congress. No, even ngayon, kung makikita nyo, now congressmen can freely go here and dati kasi hindi ka pwede pumasok. You need to be part of the 25 na makakapasok lang. So now, congressmen can go in and out of Congress, deliberate on each of the, so, and we're not being muted.
Yes, but Congressman, you're speaking to leadership style. I want to bring it back to Ami's question about people criticizing Congress as a rubber stamp. I asked that question in the context of independence. Independence from Malacañang. How different is the speakership of Velasco from the speakership of Alan Cayetano?
Sa ngayon kasi, it's just our first day, no? But I think in terms of building new laws or new direction, mas progressive tong si Speaker Lord because he's young, he's new, he's fresh. No, I also consider myself as one of those na have new ideas. No, we're not the traditional politician. So I think this is a new step because we are. If I just include myself, we are the new breed of leaders that can probably put a better light on whatever bills or whatever laws na magagawa. I think that's just my answer.
In one majority, sinabi ni Speaker Velasco is willing to give a position to former Speaker Cayetano. Do you have any idea kung ano position kaya yun?
I was there when si Speaker Lord offered the deputy speaker, one of the deputy speakers to Representative Cayetano.
May acceptance na ba?
Wala pa ho.
Wala pa.
Yes. Wala pa.
Congressman, balikan ko lang. Oh, go ahead, Lucy.
Now, I was going to ask you, meron bang magiging pagbabago sa mga rules and procedures, no? Because the way you convened yourselves in celebrity and actually voted last Monday, that was totally outside of House rules. And now you're deliberating in plenary with more than just the usual 25 who can physically distance. Are you going to be changing the rules from here on?
First of all, we believe when we held the plenary in celebrity, we believe that we as Congress, as congressmen and congresswomen, we believe that we comprise Congress. No? It is not the other way around wherein the plenary siya yung Congress. Hindi. We believe na kami, especially at the time we had the majority, because we had precedent already. Nagkaroon kami ng session sa Batangas. No? I think that was when Taal volcano exploded and we held a session there. So
yes, but that one was within House rules, no?
No,
that
this is
one
also
was within House rules, no? But this one is really? That's how you consider it? Kasi,
yes, we approved it. Dito kasi it's still the majority that rules, you know. So once the majority ratifies anything that the House will do, once you have the 151 or more, then yan na yung House rules namin.
Kasi sinasabi nga nila. Yeah.
I guess the question, Congressman, is this fair template now for anybody theoretically moving forward? Let's assume somebody wants to not necessarily just take the speakership, but move forward on even a piece of legislation. Is this a template and a process that anybody can now adapt?
Yung rules kasi ng House is basta majority ka, you can change the rules at any given time.
As long as you can muster a majority, you can meet anywhere. Sabi nga ni Congressman El Rey in our interview, kahit daw sa ilalim ng puno, basta makamaster kayo ng majority, pwede na kayong kumilos. Ganun na ba ngayon?
Basta you can ratify it, like for example, we're under siege, di ba? You cannot use batasan, you can use another place, and then if you have the majority, then that becomes the temporary place of your plenary. That's exactly what we did.
Speaking of
Ay,
meetings,
Congress-
you were mentioning na Speaker Cayetano, former Speaker Cayetano, allowed only about 20-25 people to enter the session hall. Pero sabi niya, that's for COVID prevention. And he was warning nga na ang dami-dami ngayon, baka kayo ma-COVID. So tuloy-tuloy ba itong system na to? I mean, considering what's happening, magdi-distancing ba kayo o susundin yung balak na doon na lang daw sa gallery yung iba? So tuloy-tuloy na to na hindi na kayo maglilimit ng number of people inside?
We have a COVID test, swab test, antigen test before we go inside the batasan. So
For this special session.
for all the sessions,
So,
So every session, araw-araw?
every session,
Magsaswab.
araw-araw, magsaswab.
Mm.
The swab is located in majority, the majority leader's office.
Paano kung mga almost 200 yung uma-attend every day?
Every day.
Oo.
Ma'am,
Magsaswap.
kasi we believe that it is our duty to our constituents to be present inside the halls of Congress.
So hindi niyo masyadong gusto yung yung Zoom conferences.
Ma'am,
Do
kasi
you allow it, no?
yung muting and parang it deprives you and your constituents of talking, of giving a chance to air your side, no? Especially kung sasabihin nila technical difficulties or what, no? Hindi ko kung ako masusunod lang, hindi ko gusto 'yon. I think this is the house of the people. This is where things should be discussed, no?
Yeah. Congressman, can you put clarity on that? Because there were those allegations, not just in the context of any process, but particularly in the run-up to the showdown sa speakership, there were allegations na namumute yung mga tao and people were actually locked out of the proceedings. Can you speak to that? Was that happening, and how often was it happening? And were there any particular key points in the battle for the speakership, and for that matter, the decision to suspend the proceedings, where people were muted out by the former dispensation?
Yeah, yung exclusive club nga na sinasabi namin, because it's the same 25 people who are here all the time, no? Sila lang yung nasasama sa roster. Kumbaga parang draw lots yan eh. Kung sinong 25. Pero napansin namin, every time, like if you watch the ABS-CBN, the PhilHealth, and all the rest of the sessions, it's all the same people. Di ba? Paano naman kami? Gusto rin namin pumasok, gusto rin namin mag-attend. So wala kaming chance, we'll just be in Zoom. And in Zoom, sometimes you try to raise your hand or you try to talk. And the people in session, sila yung nag-uusap. And then pag turn mo na, ang tagal na. So ang daming nagko-complain na gano'n. And then sometimes pagka negative pa yung sasabihin mo, i-mute ka bigla. So we feel that it's a very dictatorial and autocratic style of governance to us, no? And it's almost like a tyrant already na hindi kami papayag doon. That's one of the reasons why I came out, no? I was if you ask me, si Speaker Cayetano is a childhood friend of mine. We came from the same school. Short months pa lang magkakilala na kami. But there's a democratic process that we have to follow, and I believe that if you stop me from talking or you stop anybody from talking, then you kill the democratic process. No, that's what I stand for. Kaya sabi ko, I cannot tolerate this.
Okay.
Okay.
Congressman, marami pong salamat. We know, baka hinahanap na po kayo sa session. And thank you for
Kakatapos lang ng
sharing.
DPWH.
Thank you for
At saka nakalive si Presidente.
Marami pong salamat.
Salamat, sir.
Para makita nyo.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Okay. Maraming salamat
Okay,
po.
thanks for the shot.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
And that will be all.
Okay.
Special edition of the Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Mami Paminton of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News.
Mr. President, susugal ko lang po yung report ni Secretary Roque. Secretary Roque, yung bang pag-reduce ng ating